Disney Plus brings together fans of all ages. This podcast brings three adults who are also kids at heart together to talk about Disney Plus. Join Scott, the Magic Genie producer, Regina, the sassy Megara of the group, and Nathan, the gentle but grumpy Brit, as they bring you news, reviews, special guests, and discussions on the Disney Plus Streamcast.
Hello and welcome to the Disney Plus Streamcast. I'm Scott Murray and I'm here with Regina Davis.
Hello, hello.
So, looking around Facebook earlier this week, and guess what I saw?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I know, that can go any number of places, can't it?
For real.
No, you don't have to hold your kids' ears or anything. I saw, it looks like they finally got just about everything together at Epcot Center for the new barbecue place that's at Epcot Center, you know, where the American experience is. And, you know, it used to be just kind of this throw together. I think it had a little bit of barbecue, maybe hot dogs, you know, Americana stuff. And then this time they've decided to make the entire thing barbecue, and it is themed around Sam the Eagle.
Oh my gosh.
And
that's a dream come true.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's called like the Regal Eagle Smokehouse.
Oh, shut up. The Regal Eagle? Oh,
Yeah.
My goodness.
And it says I think it's something like a salute to all cook-offs, but mostly barbecue. Yeah, they've been sharing pictures of the restaurant itself, which looks good. I mean, you know, being here in Texas, we've seen plenty of barbecue places. It looks like a good old-fashioned barbecue place, and then they have some really cool T-shirts that kind of look like a presidential logo with Sam the Eagle on them, only everything's worded around barbecue and him.
Oh, absolutely. Would I buy some of that merch?
Yeah, that's what I said when I shared it. It's like, I think I need one of those T-shirts. Mm-hmm. I got to get down there again at some point in time to do Rise of the Resistance, and now I need to go get some barbecue and bring home a T-shirt, apparently.
Heck yes. Oh.
Well, in the meantime, we have Disney Plus to discuss, and later on in the show, we're going to review or share some reactions to Timothy Failure, Mistakes Were Made. We're also going to touch on some things we've been watching here of late on Disney Plus. And at the end of the show, we're going to tie everything back to last week's show when we went through those top 15 lists of things that on the list that said that we should either avoid completely, which we didn't agree with all of those, and then some that he said that were really good movies that you might have missed, and there were some that we've potentially missed. So we're all going to pick a couple of those and try and watch them before the next show. But the good news is, one of the reasons we're going to be able to do that is because Nathan is back, and that means it's time for News with Nathan. Hello, Nathan. Welcome back.
Why, thank you. Hello, my lovelies. It's great to be back. I've missed you so much while I was out there floating in the ether, not knowing what to do with my Sunday nights.
We missed you so much. It's so glad to have you back.
You know, I appreciate it. You know, the fam was getting really, really bored with my constant news breaks to tell them, like, hey, never mind about spaghetti tonight. This is what's on Disney Plus this week. So I'm really glad to be able to share it with a willing and wanting audience like yourselves. So without further ado, new stuff hitting Disney Plus in March. Black Panther is coming to the service on March 3rd.
Good one.
Something that, it's, something I was sleeping on for a bit, and I thought it was going to be another Thor or Thor 2. Shout out to last week. What's up? But no, actually, probably one of the best standalones that the Marvel Studios put out. Stargirl, Disney Plus original, based on that young adult book by Jerry Spinelli that was all over the New York Times bestseller list a few years ago. Starring Grace VanderWaal from America's Got Talent. It's her vehicle, I guess. That hits on the 13th. The trailer dropped. Gotta be honest, gave me the feels. So I'm there for that. Fingers crossed it's not another Noel. I'm all in. I'm all in, guys. I want this to work. and A Wrinkle in Time hits on March 25th. You should watch it. You should watch it. You know why you should watch it? Because Disney lost a load of money on that movie. I'm gonna watch it because, back in the day, book report days, Madeline Longley, you had to read that book, so why not? It's there.
You may as well.
It. Yeah, absolutely. I'd rather watch that than I think that new Be Our Chef show that comes out. I'm not the audience for it, let's be honest. Now, I like cooking. I'm the size of a house. I love cooking and I love eating. But Be Our Chef, new series that drops on the 27th. The trailer is out. It's hosted by Angela Kinsey from The Office. And it's kind of like one of those family cook-off shows. Take a couple of families, and they're all going to create a dish inspired by an iconic Disney character. In the trailer, they showed Olaf, they showed Baymax, they showed terse interactions with parents telling kids to take it out of the oven, and overwrought kids in post-production saying, oh my gosh, it's on. We're going to win this, and all the rest of it. So I'm probably not going to watch that. But, I take one for you guys, though. I take one for the team, and I would, just to review it terribly the following week. If you like things like that, and you want to be on things like that, so I guess Disney Plus has another game show type thing, fixing to hit their service. Listen to me being all Texan.
Ooh, welcome.
That's a bit spicy.
If you fit in a bless your heart, you've really got the gold star from being from Texas.
Yeah, I can't do that because I'm just predetermined just be straight up and rude rather than say bless your heart and hide it behind red hat ladies and Junior League bake-offs and things.
I don't know. I bet you didn't think you were fixing to do anything either.
Oh boy!
But here we are.
My cover's blown, and I've just got to keep on powering through this segment now because you've betrayed the fact I've been here entirely too long. So the producers of The Amazing Race are bringing a series to Disney Plus. I'm just going to read you the press blurb. An exciting new series for Disney Plus, The Maze. They are on a nationwide search for teams of 2 family members, 1 adult and 1 tween/teen, age 11 to 15, to go on a mythical adventure. Guided by wizards and eccentric characters, their teammates will solve riddles and decipher clues that will send them on a journey through European cities and fairy tale villages. Must be available for 4 weeks in June and July. Gotta have passports, gotta be US residents. Terms and conditions apply. If you're interested, themazecasting.com has the entry form. And who knows, maybe you can hit streaming stardom and be the next Richard from Survivor or something. My big thing this weekend was Toy Fair in New York.
Mm-hmm.
The Jacob K. Javits Center hosted Toy Fair 2020 that showed all the hot up-and-coming stuff for this year. Assuming you can find it in a show, one of the figures that I really wanted was the Iron Man 2020 with the cogs on his arms, Arno Stark. Walgreens exclusive, already sold out, go figure. Hopefully it comes back. I guess Disney and Hasbro announced on Friday that they're going to rekindle their partnership and keep that going for the indefinite future. Terms not disclosed, except to say that Hasbro partner brands were up 24% in the last quarter and made them a whole bunch of money because of Avengers, Frozen 2, things like that. Bits that caught my eye. Marvel Legends figures, they did a Venomized Miles Morales, a Spider-Gwen, and Captain America, and they all looked the bomb. A couple of mutant dudes that I hadn't seen before in the lines, like Apocalypse and Black Tom Cassidy. I'm there for those. They had a Storm inspired by giant-sized X-Men. That cover looks really, really good. And I hate to say it, but those Fox movies have lent themselves to some really, really amazing figures. The sculpts for the Hugh Jackman Wolverine look fantastic. The Deadpool and Cable James Brolin look really great. They've done a Magneto and a Professor X as well that has 2 different heads. So with like the Professor X, you can either have him as James McAvoy or you can have him as Sir Patrick. And again, heads look amazing. It's all in the sculpts, look really, really, really good. There was a whole bunch of Mandalorian merch. I think my favorite bit I saw was the Razor Crest in Lego because it comes with all the minifigs. The super
Oh my
cute
God, it looks so
IG-11, he
good.
looks so cute. You want one of those. And there was a really, really awesome, I guess he's canon now. But remember, back in the day when we first started, we were psyched for Knights of the Old Republic. And Darth Revan from that gets his lightsaber in that Force FX range, and it changes depending on whether you want him as the Sith guy or the Jedi. It's got an awesome hilt. Looks amazing. That was really, really, really cool. Funko had a whole bunch of stuff out as well. I guess that pop based on the child is the biggest selling pre-order of all like Funkos ever. People going crazy for that, as they did for anything with the child on it. I know this last month at my own store, we sold out of all of our child tumblers that came in through Turvis. And I know that animatronic Baby Yoda, the child, that was available for pre-order on Disney Shop, that's gone now. So again, it's kind of like fever pitch trying to get that stuff. But we're not here for that in particular. I saw this and I thought, oh my gosh, Scott and Regina, this is all them, especially based on last week's episode. They're doing Funko Pops of the Mighty Ducks.
No way.
Yeah.
Yay!
So while I'm there buying my Marvel Zombies and all the rest of it, I know you're going to get your Gordon Bombay on. And, good luck to you. I love it. I just love that for you. That was really, really, really special.
I love that for us, too.
Right. And I guess the last thing that I have for you, which this broke in the Hollywood Reporter recently, and Deadline, I guess, confirmed it or jumped on their coattails, however you want to look at it. But J.D. Dillard, who directed Slight and Sweetheart earlier on this year, and a writer from Luke Cage and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Matt Owens. So it says they've been asked to develop a project for Star Wars, unclear whether it's theatrical or Disney Plus, but allegedly set on Exegol, the Sith planet. I thought it was a weird combo until I did I Googled J.D. Dillard, and I found this article from Fast Company back in the day. He became a darling at Sundance because he had some like pretty impressive sponsors, if you will. He spent a couple of years doing film at Syracuse, transferred to USC, had to drop out because he couldn't afford it. Ended up getting a job in TV development, hated it because it was making him be an executive. He wanted to be a director. So he took a pay cut and a lot less money, and had this really long commute to go work on the reception desk at Bad Robot. So while he's at Bad Robot, he's getting all these writing gigs, had to tell HR, hey, I need some time off for this. And they were like, oh, why do you need some time off? And he was like, well, I'm writing. And they were like, oh my gosh, that's great. He expected to be fired. They were all for it. News gets to JJ, lets him do his own thing. He comes and goes as he wants from the company. Whenever he needs a part-time job, he comes back. At one point, he's working in the kitchen there as a sous chef. And JJ's wife, the co-CEO of Bad Robot, comes up to him and says, hey, we're shooting The Force Awakens overseas. You should come with us and go and visit with us and check out how we make this movie. And he did. So he's got the inside track when it comes to the whole Star Wars stuff. So it's not so far-fetched. Some bloke who's just doing indie movies at Sundance potentially gets to be part of the biggest movie franchise ever. And I think that's all the news I have for you.
Oh, that was such a good dose of news after not having you for a week.
Your cup runneth over.
I am in no hurry to acquire the merchandise of the child. I'm just not. I mean, I love the character. I love the show. But, I'm also one of these people that even if I'm looking forward to something, I never pre-order anything, hardly. It's never been necessary, and I also tend not to get excited about things that aren't supposed to come out for months. So the idea that I'm paying for something now that I won't get for months just doesn't do anything for me anyway. And they're making so many variations of that character. I just figure at some point in time between now and the end of the year, I'll see something somewhere and grab it, whether it's the Funko Pop, whether it's the life-size Funko Pop, whether it's the animatronic one, which I'm sure will be off the shelves within 5 minutes during the holiday season. I also saw the Build-A-Bear version one, which really was kind of scary looking if I looked at it right. Had really big black eyes, almost like the aliens you see on South Park, so maybe it'll look better in the store. There's just so much. I mean, I'm in no rush to pick up something. I just figure at some point in time I'll be walking through a store and see it and decide then, and that's just good enough for me. I'm just... the stuff they're showing looks cool, but I'm okay that they're sold out because I wasn't going to rush and try to grab it anyway. So I just think there's a level of overhype a little bit with everything related to this one character of a good show full of really good characters. The other thing I'm wondering is we're getting all these details about shows they're working on, movies they're possibly working on, and some of the things that we've heard about in recent weeks have been things that we heard about even before Disney Plus launched. And one thing that I found out about before it launched that I haven't heard them say anything about, unless I just missed it, was they are doing a Muppet talk show. And
Oh, what?
they're doing a Muppet talk show. I think it's Jim Henson's people. And how it's going to work is there is a Muppet who is the host of the show, but he is actually an alien from another world who was sent here, I can't remember why, and decided to stay because he became instantly obsessed with pop culture here. So he decided to stay on our planet, launch a talk show, and find out more about pop culture through having all these guests.
To be fair, we enjoy the same pastime.
Yeah. Well, anyway, up next, we are going to talk a little bit about things we've been watching here recently, but our main focus today will be the Timothy Failure Mistakes Were Made movie that we all got a chance to see this past week. We will be talking about that film and sharing some reactions.
That's next on the Disney Plus Streamcast.
Well, in Nathan's absence last week, we had a chance to talk about some shows that one person watched that thought were worth watching or not worth watching. We're going to follow up on that here in a little bit. But in the meantime, since we didn't get a chance to talk to Nathan and we didn't get a chance to talk about things we've been checking out on Disney Plus, I figured before we started talking about Timothy Failure today, we could talk about some things we've had a chance to watch on Disney Plus. Have you all watched anything new, or is there something that stands out that you've had a chance to check out on Disney Plus in the last couple weeks?
So I went back to an oldie first, just to sort of dip my toes in for this week, because I'd seen it, on my little scroll bar many times, and I was like, I'm eventually going to do it. I rewatched Willow again, and that movie is still so dang good that I was just blown away. I was completely into it. It's still just as tense. It's still just as funny, just as heartwarming. Val Kilmer's still just as hot. It's all just the most fun. And I realized as I was watching it, I was just like, man, this is just really, really incredibly well written. Because within the first 2 minutes of the movie, it's already incredibly tense. You've already got this midwife running through the woods away from these hounds with this baby, and you already somehow care incredibly deeply about them. And then, Willow's family finds this baby, and you immediately care about that family, and you're just completely sold from the beginning to the end. Love that movie. Then I was like, thank you, Disney Plus. That was a really fun little, nostalgia trip. I used to love that movie. So then I decided to watch another thing that I'd seen scroll by many times, called Encore. And to be really honest, I only clicked on it because it's got Kristen Bell on the thumbnail, and I really think she's pretty cool. I couldn't get through the first 20 minutes.
If I remember right, this is the reality show where kids who did musicals in high school get back together as adults and attempt to do it again.
Oh my God. It's okay. Here's the thing. No. So I have no problem with musical theater in general. I don't want to participate, but I know people who love it and are great at it. But this premise of having these people sort of come back out of their normal lives to try to redo something they did in high school, unfortunately, comes off just as cringy as it sounds. And then watching sort of their forced reality show conversations as they try to, like, I think mingle is what they're trying to do amongst themselves, like they're still all friends. It's just heinous. So, but I've only watched 20 minutes. Maybe it's just not my bag, but that was a mistake. So then to wash that taste out of my mouth, I was like, well, let's just watch a heartwarming short, for God's sakes. And so then I watched this little short, the animated short called Bow, about this lady who like takes care of a sentient dinner roll, basically. Oh. And then I'm crying about that. I'm crying over a sentient dinner roll. And so then I decided to be done for the week. So that's what I've watched.
That encore sounds like Nathan's worst nightmare.
Oh my God, Nathan, please, please. I'll do anything. At least I'll tell you exactly how far I got. And if you watch at least up to that point. And then tell me.
I think what I might have to do with that is find a bottle of a very stiff beverage and watch that. There's nothing
stiff enough.
And then everything, as I cringe, every time I cringe, I'm going to have a drink and I'm going to say something rude on Twitter or tweet you or like text you with it.
You have to live tweet it as you do it.
Yeah. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll get the keys to the old... the Streamcast Twitter account and just go hell for leather one day. Yeah, I have seen...
up, big boy, because the first play is Annie.
See, and I like Kristen Bell too, and I did think about that. I mean, I love The Good Place, so man, challenge accepted.
She has nothing to do with it. You're just watching these people, so that's a complete lie. Like she narrates it maybe momentarily.
I'm in. I'm gonna do it in with
Please.
Both. Challenge accepted.
Yes.
I did watch Bow back in the day, and that
sweet.
Will destroy you. Yeah, absolutely. Oh. It's a tough one. In much the same way that like when you start watching Up, and the beginning is like, oh wow, this is super upbeat, and it's so sweet, and then you're like, oh God, like you kind of get choked up and everything.
Right, and it ends beautifully. It's got a beautiful story and message, but dang.
Great example of storytelling, though. So I would recommend it on that level. But you watch it at the wrong time, it will crush you. I watched, because Scott recommended it back in the day, Empire of Dreams, the documentary about the Star Wars trilogy. It's unfair to call it about the trilogy when really it's an hour and a half about A New Hope and how difficult it was to make and all the stuff they endured. And then the other two movies get relatively short shrift. And I don't know that it was because they were any easier to make. I just don't know that they had the interviews or the archival material for it. But nevertheless, like really, really interesting, really, really fantastic interviews. I feel like I've seen bits of this repurposed in other documentaries at some point. But it was nice to see it all together. You've got all sorts of people there. When's the last time you saw Steven Spielberg come out on the record and talk about Star Wars, like sit down and be interviewed for it? So that was lovely. Walter Cronkite, all sorts of luminaries talking about, Star Wars' influence and effect. Joseph Campbell was quoted in that movie as saying that, George Lucas was his greatest pupil. So you have all the mythological bits in there and just all the making of bits. There's some really insightful bits and pieces in there from Gary Kurtz, the producer, Ben Burt, the sound designer. Again, if you like Star Wars but aren't familiar with the behind the scenes so much, you just know that the lore and the mythology of the trilogy, definitely worth the watch. Shortcomings of the final act notwithstanding, the whole thing is a very watchable documentary. The other thing I watched was Lamp Life, which is the short for Toy Story 4, which details what happens to Bo Peep and her sheep in the interim before she meets up with Woody again, as she became like a lost toy, as it were. And does the job. It's a story that didn't need to be told, but it's perfectly fine and entertaining. If you like Toy Story 4, you're going to like that. And yeah, that's what I watched in the last week.
Yeah, I saw the Bo Peep thing as well. In fact, it was little short things like that I had a chance to watch in the last few days. I watched, I think, what is the last Forky-esque question, which was about cheese. But what's funny is they never really get around to entirely answering that question, but they answer a bunch of other questions. And I saw the last 2 episodes of Pixar in Real Life. One involved WALL-E. And essentially what they did was they had this woman outside. She was just outside, I guess, an apartment complex or something that's right there on a very busy street. And she's standing in front of a bunch of trash and a big cardboard box. And she's claiming that she lost her wedding ring. She accidentally threw it away or landed in the garbage or something. So she's looking through it. And she says, I got to go do something real quick. Will you just keep an eye on this? I don't want anybody to, take this away before I have a chance to look through it. She walks off, and then WALL-E comes popping out of the box, and WALL-E has the ring.
Oh.
And then in the second one, there's this guy in front of a toy store, and he's got Woody basically in this glass. It's just like a storefront. And he's just showing off, and he's telling everybody, "Yeah, I got this doll, and he's in perfect condition." And people are coming by, and he's constantly talking about it. But then he steps away to take a phone call, and then there's these set of cones that come from the other side of the street, and inside the cones, it's all the different voices of Buzz and everybody else. They're basically sneaking around these cones, and if they see somebody, like someone will be walking by, they'll go, "Oh no, that little girl's looking at us, stop," and all the cones will just stop. But they're trying to disguise themselves as cones so they can get to the storefront and rescue Woody. And eventually they get there, and then by the time they walk out, the guy comes back, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, where did it go? Where did it go?" And so that's what happens in the Toy Story Pixar in Real Life.
That would terrify me to see in real life. I would start kicking cones. I'm not proud of it. That's just what would happen.
And I've never seen Willow.
Oh my gosh, you would love it.
That's a great movie. That's such a classic piece of celluloid fantasy. It really does stand out.
Yeah, I will watch it. My wife's seen it. She loves it. And I think they're making a TV series out of it for Disney Plus as well. But speaking of a movie we all have watched, I was intrigued by some of the buzz coming from Timothy Failure as it hit Disney Plus. I think the reviews are pretty good on it from both the critic side and the audience side. I didn't know much about it. I did watch the trailer, but as far as some of what it was based on and everything, I was just completely blind on that. So it was all pretty new. I like the casting. I like the celebration of imagination. There's elements of his imagination remind me as things I would play when I was a kid. Because when I was a kid, I had some similar tendencies that if I was playing something in public, I didn't mind getting people involved when I was a kid. So I appreciated the imagination celebration of it all. I think there were some really funny humor moments in it, and I do like how the subtitle is "Mistakes Were Made," and the kid constantly says mistakes were made. The only real issue I have with it is I do think it has pacing issues. I did find myself feeling it was kind of dragging there towards the end. I felt antsy as things were moving along. But that's really my only complaint. I would recommend seeing it, especially if you like things in the film that I just expressed it had. But I would say be prepared for, kind of a slow pace with the whole thing. It's not one of those things that sets a bunch of things up and then rushes to the end. I mean, it pretty much takes its time from beginning to end. But there's some endearing qualities in it, and I definitely think people should watch it, and it's definitely safe for your kids to watch. And I love the polar bear being his partner in crime, or partner in solving crime, maybe.
Attempting to. Man, I had no expectations going into it because I had no knowledge of it until you mentioned it. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really wasn't sure I would because, I obviously, saw a quick, little blurb of a premise before I started watching it. But I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. I thought the writing was actually pretty good. Some of it was a little goofy, but for the most part, I was really entertained, and it was really well cast. The woman that played his mother did a really, really good job, because, you know, she was sort of raising a very strange, and it was tough. And so she was sort of what grounded everything back to reality for me, because you're sort of brought along this journey with him, and you see the things he's imagining, you know, talking about going to middle school and seeing all of his classmates getting loaded into a truck
Yeah.
in the rain. You know, that's obviously not really happening, but we're seeing what he's imagining. But then you always remember that, you know, you are in the real world whenever you see it again through his mom's eyes, whenever she's like, no, you're getting in trouble in school. You know, you're making me lose my job. Like, it adds a depth of reality to everything. The polar bear, I wasn't really sure about, because I was like, oh God, he can't see it, or, you know, everyone around him can't see it. He's the only one who can. This is going to be some really sad stuff, you know, because it's clearly some sort of coping mechanism, and he's going to lose it at some point, because this is Disney. There's no way they're not going to separate each other. Like, you know, come on. But I loved it. I really, really did. It's got, you know, sweet messages, sweet moments. There's a little bit of sadness because, you know, he is kind of struggling through life, being as different as he is. But it's heartwarming enough where it's not a drag to watch. You really do see him come to terms with everything and flourish in the end.
For me, when I watched it, I kind of felt it was like if Calvin and Hobbes did The Maltese Falcon, because, you know, Timmy himself, he's so like downbeat, he's so pragmatic about the whole thing, even though he's got that sort of delusions of grandeur and he's living in his own world. You know, he doesn't really get excited about anything except for Russians. And I love the fact that they all had the little wax mustaches and,
Yeah.
you know, like there's a lot of Russians in Portland. You know, so that made me giggle every time I saw those dudes kind of like looming on the screen and like glaring. You know, I don't have a lot else to say about it other than I did enjoy it. I did think some bits went a little slower than others. I don't know how far it veered away from the source material. I get the impression that because it's kind of like a Diary of a Wimpy Kid kind of thing, that maybe the whole sort of like cathartic kind of separation of his of Polar Bear and him, and it would lead to like crying and outrage and all the rest of that. It was kind of kept, like they kept the lid on that a lot, you know. But then again, Disney Plus, you know, Wallace Shawn was there. He had a few good bits, but he wasn't kind of like the star turn that, you know, normally after anyone who watched the Princess Bride, you see Wallace Shawn in something, you expect him to steal the scene, and I didn't really get that with this so much. Craig Robinson surprised me. It was like really understated, but just a really, really solid, you know, kind of grounding performance, and kind of helped put the whole thing in perspective. I'm surprised that Ophelia Lovibond didn't get more to do as Timmy's mom, because she's known for having really great comic chops. She was in a BBC show that parodied the BBC called W1A a few years ago. That was it was like very, very popular, and lots of people like Hugh Bonville and Olivia Colman were in it. So, you know, some real heavy hitters in that, and you know, she was really well regarded. Her performance was a little bit simple for what it was, but I guess that's what it needed because she wasn't the star. I really enjoyed Crispin, the guy who played him, Carl Bornheimer. He was really good, and Rollo as well. You know, the bit when they're in the bank and he throws the marbles on the floor and they don't smash anywhere, and he's like, "Save her!"
I died.
And he runs and bangs his head on the way out. Yeah, just really, really good. I just, you know, I really, really liked it. And to its credit, it did set the tone the second you started watching it. When he goes to Gunner's house and he goes in Gabe's room and Gabe is there carving something, he's got the bag on the back of the door. And he's like, yeah, you know, take a note. Gabe's really rude. It sets your expectations for, you know, the level of success that Timmy Failure can honestly, you know, achieve. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. You know, Total was really, really cool. You know, as far as imaginary polar bears go, I don't think there's many more that could, you know, do the job better than that. I just thought they gave him like real subtle nuance every now and again. Like, again, from the Empire Dreams thing, where it shows like Peter Mayhew doing the whole head nod to the side or head to the side whenever he's like, you know, Chewbacca's like talking and everything. And they kind of caught the same sort of mannerisms with with Total, just anthropomorphized him just enough, like get that kind of understanding in there. Yeah, the whole thing was just really endearing. I would definitely recommend it. I think it's one of our favorite non-Star Wars originals that we've kind of watched this year. It has to be, surely.
Yeah, the actress that played his mom was also in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, one of the collector's girls, right?
Yeah, the pink.
I definitely remember her from W1A now. I knew I'd seen her from something, but she was Izzy Gould.
Right.
And, oh man, that show was funny. Good old Will Humphreys was probably my favorite. But yeah, I love her, and I wish she had done a little bit more. So if I was to complain about something, it's not enough of her.
All right. Well, let's wrap things up by tying into what we did last week. You both have obviously seen the list and heard the list that we went through. I would just say there's probably multiple things. If you have multiple things that you hope to see, that's not to say that we have to cover all of those things in 1 week. But maybe just mention a few things on both the things that he said you should not watch and things that he says you probably haven't seen but are really good. And then we'll see what everybody got a chance to grab as we head into the show next week. I know on my end, when it came to things he said to avoid, I'm going to check out Gus.
Yeah.
I have to check that out, what that cast, and then just the concept, and then what Jeff said about it. I have to watch Gus. And I've been meaning to watch the Aristocats again anyway, because I don't think I've seen it since I was a kid. And to see an adult rip it like this guy did,
Dude, yeah.
I just have to go back and watch it as an adult and just see if there's anything there that I felt was worth putting on that list. On the things that he said to watch that you probably haven't seen, I definitely want to talk about Aliens of the Deep. I mentioned that I thought I had seen Treasure Island because there just seems really, really familiar, but I couldn't pull scenes, and that's usually something I'm pretty good at. So I'd like to revisit that and see if I remember it. And I was really, I think all three of us, really intrigued by Frank and Ollie. So,
oh yeah.
Out of those two lists, those are probably my top 5 merged together as far as things I'm hoping to get to see in the coming weeks, and hopefully I'll have 2 or 3 of them for next week.
So I think for me, I mean, I know I'm going to watch Aristocats again because, I just have to make sure I'm not insane. I think probably the most intense thing from that list that I shouldn't watch would be Benji the Hunted. If it's asked of me, I'll do it. But I'm just saying, I'd rather not. I may rewatch Kazam. It's been a long time.
Okay.
I'm really thinking about it. But as for the movies that you may not have seen but are actually great, I think I'm going to try and see The Greatest Game Ever Played and see if Disney can make me care about golf.
That sounds good. Yeah, I might want to watch Benji the Hunted if I can fit that in. I just didn't put it in my top group because I know I've seen that. It's the only thing outside of the Aristocats that I know I've seen. I mean, I don't remember much about it other than I loved those movies as a kid, so I would watch it again anyway. So I'm trying to make it a little more mission-based, but that is definitely something I'm going to revisit.
The only thing I could promise is I'll let you know how far I can get.
Okay.
Because I don't think I'm going to finish it.
Have you seen any of the Benji movies?
Hell no.
Okay.
I used to watch the show when I was a kid that, Homeboy talked about last week with the alien prince and Zax, who looked like the robot looked like it came off of the black hole. I mean, I know it didn't, but it looked just like
Bob and Bob.
Yeah. And that's what suckered me into watching it. But it was a staple of I don't know how you guys do it over here, but back home when the schools are out, they change the daytime programming from 8 a.m. till midday and make it like kids programming. Mm-hmm. And it was a staple. It was on there every weekday when I was a kid. They just kind of churned through a lot of these American series. I think the other one that they used to show a lot was, is it The Littlest Hobo, about the dog that goes different place or different town, like Highway to Heaven, but with a dog. That was the other one. But yeah, that Benji thing, that's how I know that. I didn't know they did separate films for Benji. I just know it from the Alien Prince thing and him being chased by
Yeah, some of those Benji movies are hard to find. I remember finding like a couple of them on one disc at one point, but I have not found the one with Chevy Chase at all, the Oh Heavenly Dog. I feel like there's like a group of movies and shows out there that I watched as a kid that for whatever reason have, I'm sure due to laws and copyrights and things, just haven't made it to VHS or DVD or Blu-ray. I used to watch all the Gary Coleman movies, too. I liked all of those, and those things aren't anywhere out there either, and those were cute shows for kids. Sorry, that's way off topic.
Oh, no such thing. Again, Gary Coleman, only known from Different Strokes and VH1 reality things. So you're just opening my eyes here, Scott. There's a whole realm of Americana that remains untapped by me, despite my extended stay in your fair nation.
Well,
so I guess I've got,
Nathan.
Yeah, I guess I've got some work to do to catch up with y'all or something like that. Oh gosh, bring in the spice. So, something that I would like to watch. The Aliens of the Deep thing seems be right in my wheelhouse. I would definitely like to check that out. If you haven't seen Millions, it's great. I remember watching that when it came out because big Danny Boyle fan, really enjoyed Train Spotting, and I was like, oh, what's this about? It's not like Train Spotting, not at all, but it is really good. It is very, very good. Frank and Ollie, of course, and the other one that was about the making of, was it the Waking Sleeping Beauty? Those have a bit of interest in me, especially given how deep the dives we had on some of like the creators recently. That has definite appeal right now. The one that I would really like to watch, given how much I liked the first movie, is Return of Jafar. I've never seen it, and I liked Aladdin so much when I went back and rewatched it for our episode a few weeks ago. I'm all the way into that. I really want to see how it's different from caliber-wise from the original. Really, really quite game for that one. And Jack as well, because Robin Williams, you know, I don't know. I didn't watch it when it came out. How bad could it be? It's got Robin Williams in it.
It's just not a comedy.
I mean,
that's not a bad thing, though, is it?
No, I mean, you'll be fine.
Well, it was when you went to the theater expecting to see that because the trailers made you think it was. But if you know ahead of time, maybe it'll help.
But do you have the same sort of like jarring experience if you go to say watch, you know, a movie like Little Miss Sunshine and you think, oh, Steve Carell's in this, and you get to watch that and you're like, oh my god, this gets a bit dark.
Well, I mean,
a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, you got to remember what it's about. I mean, it's somebody who's not getting to live life to the fullest because he's aging too fast.
I empathize with that so much. I'm definitely
but I mean, like, now. Way faster than us.
Well, you say that, mate. Those kids will put wrinkles around your eyes and in your forehead real quick. Yeah, I definitely watch Jack as well. I'm more interested in the things that I shouldn't watch than the things that I should right now, I'll tell you. I'd definitely be up for a twofer with that and then wash it down with a couple of episodes of Encore 2.
Oh, God.
It's going to be a long night.
I can't wait.
Okay, well, there we go. We have our lineups pretty much set. How much we fit into next week, I guess we'll find out in next week's show. In the meantime, remember you can visit us and email us at our website, which is DisneyPlusStreamcast.com. We're also on Twitter at DisneyPlusCast. If you're listening to the show or you've subscribed to the show, and by the way, if you have, thank you very much, and always thank you for listening, feel free to leave a review and let us know what you think, and let other people know what you think about this podcast. Again, thanks for listening to the show today, and please join us next Wednesday for another episode of the Disney Plus Streamcast.